Hi everyone. So today I want to just walk through a more complex data set that requires a few unique steps of manipulation. And to do so, let's take a look at the data first. I like to just kind of go through and understand what information I'm looking at, and what I'm seeing here is I'm essentially getting a summarized data set that I need to incorporate back into Power BI, which means I need to manipulate it and effectively unsummarize it before it becomes usable. So what am I looking out for? Top couple rows is just extraneous data. Those will need to be removed. I have a lot of merged cells in rows all the way throughout the data set, and those will need to be filled right. I have merged cells in some columns here which will need to be filled up because the sort of header is at the bottom. And then I do not need any of these total columns throughout the data because they are already accounted for when I'm aggregating the kind of remainder of the data. So let's go about loading this in. So it's just an Excel file, and you can find a link to the data source in the link below. So we'll choose that, and then let's just transform the data. So first things first, as we talked about, we need to remove the top two rows. Then I'm just going to take a quick look at the data and see if anything stands out. And these two, cells right here stand out, and I guess perhaps the third here. Knowing that we're going to eventually be filling up, these will not get filled up with this value. They will fill the rest of these up with blanks, and so I know that I need this to go up to this row, so I'm actually going to just take these two columns. I'm going to replace the values in here, which is empty, with null, and you see I have now filled those in. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to address the fill right type situation, and it's important we do that first so that the up doesn't get overwritten, or the right doesn't get overwritten by the up, because if we fill up first, then this has no room to fill right. So to fill right, in order to do that, we're going to take our data, we're going to transpose, and then I'm going to just take every single column, hit Control A, and I'm going to do fill down. So now I've done that for all of my columns. Now what I want to do is I want to go about creating a date column using columns 1 and 3. So let's go about adding a custom column. Alright, so now that we've got that, I'm just going to create a date column. So date from columns 3 and 1. And I'm going to write it the way I read it, or speak it, and that's going to be like Jan 1, 2015. So that would be and 1. (2015). So I got my column, and I'm just going to go ahead and, sorry, we'll leave that. So because this column is going to be very important, I want to make it, I'm going to move it to the beginning of my data set. And then I no longer need these columns. But before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and remove any of the columns that say total. And now I can go ahead and I'll delete those columns. So now I'm done manipulating in this way. So we're going to pivot or transpose back. And now we can go ahead and fill up. So I can do fill up on the first couple columns, which is all that I need. And then we will do a headers promotion. We need that so we can kind of deal with our dates later. Okay, so now we've promoted our headers, and I'm just taking a look and we see that the changed type is not actually working as intended because these double dashes are tricking Power BI into thinking that these are text fields when in fact they are whole numbers. So let's go ahead and change that. So we're going to put that to a whole number. Just replace the current step, that's fine. These errors are fine because they're effectively 0 and don't need to be aggregated in any way. Now, I've already highlighted them, so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to unpivot these so that I've got a date column and a values column. Okay, so I've got my values, I've got my dates, and I just need to go and kind of give these columns a proper name. So this is my province column, this is my census subdivision, and these are my census metropolitan areas, so we'll just call those CMA, and these are dates, and then we just need to designate that as a date, and now we have actually a decent set of data. So from there, I'll just show you a couple quick things that we want to keep in mind when aggregating because of the way this hierarchy works. Because there's a high chance of double counting. So we need to just set up some filters when or be very aware. So let's just, do a permanent, because this is permanent residence, we'll just, we'll put our dates on the bottom. I don't like quarters, so I like to get rid of them, and in this case the day's irrelevant. And then we'll add our values in there. And at least, we've got something that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that we've gone ahead and loaded that onto our bar chart, we want to make sure that we're not double or triple counting the data because of the way everything is stratified. So step 1, let's look at the province. Let's just do British Columbia as a starting point. So you can see already that BC total is different. And then let's have a quick look at what happens if I put census subdivision in here. I also only want that BC total line as opposed to all of the other ones. Or I want all of the other ones except that.